very briefly, if we can just take one Kabbalistic idea and kind of explain it, maybe something like, I don't know, klipot. How would you translate that? Like, if that's something.
Sure. I'm trying to think of an idea that I can give you quickly.
Okay.
Without getting
esoteric.
Yeah, without getting too involved, right? No, maybe the easiest is, let me just talk a little bit more about the Sefirot.
Sefirot, absolutely. That's perfect.
So basically, from a Kabbalistic point of view, there is a concealed, unknowable aspect of God and a revealed, knowable aspect of God. The concealed, unknowable aspect of God is what's known as Ein Sof, endless, without limit, infinite. And if I were to show you Kabbalistic descriptions of Ein Sof in isolation, you would think you're reading the work of a medieval rationalist philosopher. You think you're reading Maimonides, because Ein Sof is beyond description. You can only talk about Ein Sof negatively. You can't say what Ein Sof is, only what Ein Sof isn't. But where Kabbalists break from that more rationalist Maimonidean strain is that Ein Sof emanated 10 Sefirot. These 10 Sefirot are 10 manifestations of God that are the knowable, accessible aspect of God, the way in which God governs the world, and the aspects of God which human beings can relate to, can connect to. The higher up you go along the Sefirot, the closer you're at Ein Sof, the less noble. The lower down, the 10th Sefirah, the Sefirah of Malchut or Shechina, is the most noble. That's the aspect of God that's really immanent, that's present in our world. Now, Kabbalists are very, very careful to state that despite the fact that we're talking about a concealed portion of God and then 10 revealed aspects, you shouldn't take this to mean there are multiple gods, or there are multiple parts of God. And various Kabbalists tackle that question in different ways. Some say that just from a human perspective, it seems as though there are multiple aspects of God. God is a perfect unity. Other Kabbalists say that there's kind of a paradox. There are 10 that are one. Still, others say that the Sefirot are not actually aspects of God at all. They're kelim, they're vessels through which Ein Sof functions. And I should say that's part of the reason why Kabbalists were worried about esotericism. They were worried that people would hear their views and think, oh, Kabbalists believe that there are 10 gods. And in fact, there were such critiques, right? Kabbalists have more heretical views than Christians do. Kabbalists believe in 10 Sefirot, whereas Christians just believe in a Trinity. So there were such critiques historically, and Kabbalists were very, very keen to prevent them. But nevertheless, that there are these 10 aspects of God, and these 10 aspects of God are described in a remarkable variety of symbolic terms. And again, the term here is symbolic, not literal. There are anthropomorphic descriptions of the Sefirot. So the Sefirah of Chesed is God's arm. Not that God has an arm, it's more that the human arm, in some sense, in some way, is a manifestation of that divine arm, even though that divine arm in no sense is a physical, literal arm. And so on and so forth. The sun and the moon are symbolically referred to as the Sefirot. The Avot, Avraham is the Sefirah of Chesed, Yitzchak is the Sefirah of Din, Yaakov is the Sefirah of Tiferet. Again, these are all symbolic designations which are meant to say that Avraham somehow uniquely manifests that aspect of God which is characterized by Tiferet. Not to say that in any way God is materialized or has a real physical connection to the Avot.
Last, yeah. Last question, which is perhaps a little tongue-in-cheek. If one wants to learn Kabbalah today, should they go to Bernard Revel and learn Kabbalah, or should they try to get into a yeshiva like Shara Shamayim in Jerusalem, which is a Kabbalistic yeshiva? Where's the best place to learn authentic Kabbalah today?
Yeah, that's putting me on the spot. Of course, it depends.
Tongue-in-cheek.
Tongue-in-cheek. Well, if it's tongue-in-cheek, I'm going to have to say, as an advertisement for the Bernard Revel Graduate School, that you should come study with us. And you can also, if you're not interested in Kabbalah, we also teach Jewish philosophy. So we have all our bases covered.
Okay. Again, this has been fascinating. Just obviously the tip of things here, and everything else we have to keep to ourselves because it is Kabbalah. So, Professor Dauber, again, thank you so much. Appreciate your time today. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.